All right, and we are back. And today we're back with another episode from Useful Charts. And this time we're actually going over the Islamic denominations. So this is Islamic Denominations Explained. I just went over the Jewish denominations last week. I just finished the series for the Christian denominations. And guys, I'm looking for, the suggestion for what I should go to next. Uh, Obviously, I feel like I should still do more videos about Jewish history, as well as more videos in regards to Islamic history besides this one. So let me know. I want to, hear any ideas out there. Recommend any good channels for me, guys. And also remember, if you're not familiar with Useful Charts, make sure you go like, subscribe, follow, comment on his page, do all the fun interactive stuff for Useful Charts. But also, since you're here watching this video here, maybe you should do that with me too. Actually, you definitely should like, comment, and subscribe to this channel as well. Comment on the videos. Tell me, oh yeah, I like these. Like them, because that's a pretty important part. And subscribe, because you never know. You could get more of this. You could get some random video about why reactions are, you never know. I like to have variety on the channel. So, guys, also remember, this is the serious part. If you're not familiar, if you don't like, comment, or subscribe to the channel, unfortunately, YouTube will come through that door. And they will. Islamic Denominations Explained.
This video is sponsored by Brilliant.org. More on that at the end of the video.
Oh, wow. This doesn't sound like Matt Baker.
Hi, my name is Savish. Previously on this channel, Matt has done an 8-part series on the family tree of Christian denominations. Yeah. Along with that, he has also made a video about Jewish denominations.
Yeah.
So, naturally, today we're going to take a look at the denominations of the third Abrahamic faith, Islam.
Yeah. Guys, I like this new guy. He's, I feel like I thought we were going to be with Matt today, but apparently not. We are with a new person whose name I don't want to butcher. So I honestly, I just want to say he sounds cool already. And yeah, let's get into it. I'm ready. I got my shirt. It's fresh. It's not ironed. Let's go.
Like with Judaism, denominations in Islam aren't as clear-cut as they are in Christianity.
Okay.
It's not uncommon for people to hold a mix of beliefs from different denominations. The term denomination itself might not apply here very accurately. Let's get into it, and I'll explain along the way. The first thing I would like to address is that most religions have multiple stories of their origins. Typically, there's one or more traditional accounts, along with one or more academic accounts.
Okay.
For example, as Matt mentioned in his video on Judaism, while Jews believe their religion to have begun when Moses received the Torah, academic scholars believe it to have emerged out of a mix of ancient Israelite, Egyptian, and Mesopotamian religions. Similarly, for Islam, there's a traditional account that states that Islam began with Adam, the first human, and subsequent prophets, which include Noah, Moses, and Jesus, preached Islam, but in a different form. Finally, it came into its current shape with Prophet Muhammad when he received the first revelation of the Quran in 610 CE or so. However, academic scholars believe that Islam came out of the mixing of various religions, which included the ancient Arabic pagan religious traditions and a group of people known as Jewish Christians, specifically the Ebionites and the Nazarenes, who upheld the laws of Judaism but also believed Jesus to be a Messiah. They may have fled into Arabia to avoid persecution, where they inspired the religion of Islam. Islamic tradition mentions a group of people known as Hanifs who followed the, quote, true monotheism of Prophet Abraham, which may or may not have been these Jewish Christians. Anyhow, according to...
Oh, wow. I like that. I like that one because it literally brings us all together. It's all just connectiveness, just one line of thinking that just gets evolved together. I enjoy that premise there. So, I'm not going to say that's just the one I'm going to go with because I enjoy it, but it's just the one that sticks out, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense to me.
To Islamic tradition, Islam began with the revelation of the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad around 610 CE. From then to his death around 632, the Prophet continued to receive revelations from Allah, the Arabic word for God, which were later compiled into a book format known as the Quran or recitation. The
Oh,
Quran forms the core of Islam and is universally held up by Muslims as the highest authority on their religion. They might disagree on interpretations of the Quran, but all Muslims hold it up above everything else.
okay.
In 622, around 11 or 12 years after the first revelation, the Prophet went into exile from his birth city of Mecca and formed a community in a city called Yathrib, which later came to be known as Medina. This emigration of the Prophet is known as the Hijrah and is considered a very important point in the history of Islam. So much so that this year marks the beginning of the Islamic lunar calendar. It also
Whoa.
marks a changing point in the Quran.
Okay.
The Quran is divided into 104.
Guys, I didn't know that. Am I? I guess no, because I really didn't know that Muslims had like, or I'm saying Muslim. That's no. I didn't know that um, there was like an Islamic calendar. You know, like I knew they had like their own holidays, but I didn't know they had like a specific calendar date, like their year isn't matching up with our year. Like in their calendar, it's probably not. Wait, is it? No, it's probably not 2023. Like it's probably, I don't know, with their like 600 years difference because they started in like 630. So it's like 14 something for them, right? Am I wrong on that? Let me. If there's any people of the Islamic faith watching this, hopefully there are, because this video is literally me learning about you guys. Uh, let me know what year it is in the calendar for you guys. Just really pertinent information. Maybe I'm just being an idiot here. Let me know if I'm also being an idiot.
14 chapters known as the Surahs. The
Wow.
Meccan chapters, which were revealed during the Prophet's time in Mecca, focus more on, for the lack of a better term, abstract concepts.
Okay.
To generalize, the Quran talks about things such as Tawheed or monotheism, the oneness of God, the day of judgment, or as it's called in the Quran, the hour when the world will end and humanity will be resurrected to face the final judgment for where they'd spend eternity, heaven or hell. In other words, these chapters focused on theology. However, after the Hijrah, the Quran started talking more about, again for the lack of a better term, matters of the world.
Okay.
Because in Medina, the Prophet wasn't just a prophet, he was also a political leader, so he had to arbitrate over disputes, go to
Ooh.
war, do diplomacy, etc. So the
I feel like that's going to be complicating things. You're, I mean, hey, again, who am I? But like, it just kind of seems like maybe the person who's in charge of that shouldn't be in charge of like the like being in the wars and stuff. Because like even if he goes down, then you guys lose on two fronts. Like you lose a religious figure and like a political figure in one swift blow like that. I don't know. Maybe you should kind of keep those things separated. But again, who am I? I guess it's a good thing that this person is like taking on all the matters within himself. But maybe there's like a way you should be like delegating that responsibility or like delegating that role to like some general whose whole job is just like war, war, war. Cause but again, who am I? Maybe it's a better balance to have within a person when you can kind of like, when you get that calling from God and they're like, or Allah in this, and they're like, yo, I can do it all through Allah. So maybe that's the whole thing there. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm just being an idiot, guys. Back to the video.
The Quran also focuses on such matters at this point. In other words, these chapters focused on jurisprudence or law. This is important because in Islam there are two important distinctions when it comes to what one believes. The first is your Aqidah, which deals with the theological nature of Islam, while the
Okay.
second, the Fiqh, deals with the judicial nature of Islam.
Okay.
Where the Fiqh deals with what to do with lawbreakers, the Aqidah deals with why someone becomes one. Where the fiqh would
Mm.
say that the punishment for someone who commits a particular sin is this or that, the aqidah would ask whether the sinner has free will or whether everything is predestined. These two do overlap, and the aqidah does guide the fiqh, but not always. The Prophet Muhammad passed away in 632, and immediately cracks began appearing in the community of the believers. The
What?
first point of disagreement was who would lead the community as its new
Oh.
political leader.
Oh, that's going to be a complicated one. So I've heard of the Sunnis and the Shiites. I don't know which one is which, like what groups do specific things. I can't wait to find that out here. But yeah, I have heard of this disagreement here. And it looks like this started from the beginning. I thought this was like a little bit later on, but no, this was like the initial split right here from the looks of it. That sucks, guys. I'm sorry about that.
Some senior followers of the Prophet
Ooh.
elected his close friend
Whoa. Whoa, guys. I don't. Okay, if anybody's not familiar with the channel, uh, one thing I love doing on here is rating these symbols. Like, I have to do my own personal judgment on these symbols, guys. And no offense to any symbols I don't enjoy, but it is what it is, guys. Now, here's the tricky part for me on this one. I don't speak Arabic. I don't know any of what the wording on any of these mean. So I am literally just going off of a physical appearance. This is judging the books by their cover time, guys. So these are two really good ones, though. I gotta say, I like this one. It's like I like the stuff going around it. It looks so detailed. That is like that looks like the logo for like that should be something right there. Like if I was Muslim, I keep saying if I was a part of this religion, I would have this tattooed because this is cool. I don't know if you can get tattoos in this religion though. I'll be honest. Like with Islamic faith, can you have tattoos? Let me know if you're Islamic. And let me know if you can have tattoos. But green is my favorite color, and this one is hitting so hard. Look at all the details that you can't even see there because they're so detailed. And again, I don't know what this means, but I like it. Like, I don't know what it means, but it looks really nice. Same here. Ooh, this is close. I'm gonna go with this one, the Prophet Muhammad, just because it is a little bit more epic. Like it is just like the detail of it is so epic. In the inner detail there, you can like once you the closer you get into this thing, the better it looks. But also further away, it's just so eye catching that you're just like, I love it. And this one here, it's better the closer you get to it. And from a distance, it's cool, but not as cool as this one from a distance. So, yeah, a little example of how this is gonna go, guys. So let's continue.
and Abu Bakr as the first Khalifa or Caliph. Caliph simply means successor or deputy. The Caliph was to be the new political leader of the believers, and
So wait, Wiz Khalifa's name is like Wiz successor, like the wizard, the successor. Is it like successor or the deputy wizard? You know, is it like this is just a random thing, but I'm just seeing what this name here is, and now it made me think of the rapper. So sorry.
was known as Amir al-Mu'minin, or literally the leader of the believers. However, another party of the followers of the Prophet wanted Ali ibn Abi Talib, the cousin and son-in-law of the Prophet, to succeed him as caliph. It's tempting to call this decision as having laid the foundation of the division between the Sunnis and the Shias, the two largest sects of Islam. However, these two sects wouldn't really crystallize till the 11th century, so it would be better to call these two groups Proto-Shias and Proto-Sunnis. The division is often oversimplified by saying that the Proto-Sunnis were the ones who supported Abu Bakr, while the Proto-Shias were the ones who supported Ali. Initially, this was the case. The division was merely about who would lead the community. However, over time, the division began to get more and more complex.
Ooh.
This was because the community expanded really quickly. During the Prophet's lifetime, he conquered and allied with much of the Arabian Peninsula. After him, the caliphs sent their armies into the greater Middle East. Within a few decades, the believers ruled everything between
Wow.
Tunisia and India.
Oh, whoa. Hold on. Let's see that difference one more time. They started off right here, guys. This was them.
Within a few decades, the believers
Look at that. Look at that. That is incredible. A few decades they did that.
ruled
Jeez.
everything between Tunisia and India. In the process, they defeated the Byzantine and the Sassanid empires. As you might expect, this huge empire brought its own problems. The caliphs had to make judgments and policies in political, social, and military matters. The believers tried to follow the law laid down in the Quran as it was and is the highest authority.
Yeah.
With things that weren't directly addressed in the Quran, the believers looked at the examples laid down by the Prophet in his lifetime. These
Okay.
examples, along with his sayings, formed a canon of the Islamic tradition known as the Sunnah of the Prophet. However, there were still many things that had no direct parallels in the Quran or the Sunnah. How do we resolve that? This question divided the Muslims further. Let's first look at how the Sunnis answered this question. Again, to grossly oversimplify, the Proto-Sunnis, who get their name from the Sunnah, believed that the examples of the Prophet can guide the believers along with the opinions and comments of learned men and occasionally women who came to be known as the ulama and who had spent considerable portions of their lives studying the Quran and the Sunnah.
Okay.
The ulama weren't exactly priests, but they were not that dissimilar to rabbis. In fact, a lot of Islamic jurisprudence has parallels with Jewish law. Anyhow, among the ulama, there
That makes sense to me.
were some distinguished figures who are more venerated than the others, who came to be known as the imams. While Sunni imams were respectable figures who were considered authorities on the subject of jurisprudence, they weren't infallible, and they were merely educated human beings.
Okay.
However, the Proto-Shias believed that their imams were infallible. They believed that the imam has to be a descendant of the Prophet through his daughter Fatima and her husband Ali ibn Abu Talib.
Oh, wow.
The Proto-Shias believed that the imam had divine guidance and was the sole authority on how to interpret the Quran and the traditions of the Prophet.
Oh,
Ali
wow.
ibn Abi Talib is considered the first imam, and then his two sons, Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, are considered the second and third, respectively.
Wow. So you have to be like a direct descendant of this specific family. And then obviously you're like, you know, then you get to have like you're actually being told what to, like, your authority is coming directly from above. Like Allah is personally being like, yo, the decisions you make, I support them. What you say is good. You know, you're the imam here. That's, I don't know. For me, that's a difficult thing. But again, remember, guys, I am coming from a perspective where I was raised in a non-denominational Christian household. So it would, for me personally, these Sunnis definitely appeal more to how I was raised. It would have to take more detailed like consideration with this for the Shiites. Now, I'm not saying nobody is right or wrong because I don't know. Like I don't know anything about any of this stuff, guys. I'm just a person on my journey and I'm trying to learn. But just from how I was raised, like if you gave me these two options here, I'm going with Sunni. Like, and that's just, that's just coming from me. Just because this is my first introduction to how this is actually like what the details of it are, more or less. And I'm sure there's way more details than this. But these specific details, this is the first time I'm hearing this. So yeah, it would, and only, I guess, because like with this one here with the Shiites, it is very limited on how you're going to get that. And then it just feels like it's going to bring like almost like a complex to the people within that family. Um, and then it's also going to make it so like, I don't know. It's just, there's just reasons why I feel like that one would have some issues, but it actually may be the right thing. I don't know. This one, on the other hand, with the Sunni, it feels more like, okay, anyone can just obviously get the knowledge of what they're talking about and go in there and help explain things in detail about the religion, as long as you have the necessary knowledge to do so. And obviously, nothing you say can be considered perfect. Like, you may still make mistakes. While with the Shiites, this guy's not making a mistake. He when he says it, he means it. It is it because he knows it. And there's no authority. Nobody can tell him that he's wrong, unless I guess maybe it's another person in his family. I wonder how that works out. Because what if like there's some type of internal family dispute? Like somebody has two brothers or two sons, and they're like, okay, what if they're twins? What if one says I'm right and the other one says no, I'm right? Like, what do you have to do with that? So I don't know. Maybe they're just like, oh, Otis is the more in charge one. I don't know. Let me know, guys.
The disagreement over imams and their role in Islamic society is perhaps the biggest distinction between the Sunnis and the Shias even today. Both have their own chains of imams who are considered founders of their various schools of Islamic jurisprudence and developed their own interpretations of Islamic law known as the Sharia. However, it must be kept in mind that back in the day, this wasn't a binary division. Rather, it was more of a spectrum where people could and did mix elements from both. Let's look at Sunnis first. Sunnis make up roughly 90% of the Muslim population, with roughly 9% being Shia and the rest making up less than 1%.
Wow. All right, guys. So I'm going to listen more into that, but you guys know what time it is. I have to take a look at some of these symbols. Now, this one's going to be a little bit tricky because looking at these, a lot of them look alike, but they just have different wording in them. And as I stated before, I don't know what the wording means. So it's almost like I'm going to have to do a group judgment on these based off of, okay, I guess I can just base off of the schools because they all seem to have slightly different versions of the same one. So I would say for these four under the schools of Fahid, I'll just say that because that sounds jurisprudence. Okay. For all of these, it's like I guess I'm not the biggest fan of these here. I like the blue. I like the color. I wish it had some more details in it, but I don't know if this is a. I don't know if they're gonna be trying to go super fancy with the one like they did before. Yeah, these look kind of all like these are the same. Like this school of theology, they're literally just the same, but they're red. Now, obviously, they're not the same. They have completely different meanings, and there's completely different lettering on them. They don't mean the same things. They are not the same. But visually speaking only, it's kind of like they just changed the color red, That's just kind of how it feels to me. But yeah, that is how it is. So I guess this is a kind of easy one. I don't really have to go too much into details about why I don't enjoy these. It kind of is what it is on first glance, guys. A lot of them are the same. I'm sorry.
Among the Sunnis, there are four schools of jurisprudence or fiqh. These are the Hanafi, which is the largest and is most popular in India, Pakistan, Turkey, and parts of the Middle East. The Maliki, which is popular in Africa and previously was the predominant school in Muslim Spain. Then the Shafi'i and Hanbali, both of which are mostly common in the Middle East, with the Hanbali being dominant in Saudi Arabia. There used to be a fifth one named Zahiri, which was popular in Muslim Spain and northwestern Africa, but it has since died out. But recently, with the Islamic revivalist movements, it is starting to make a comeback.
Hey.
We'll talk about that in a moment.
Hey, shout outs to you guys for coming back. Except, wait, why they change the letters? That H, it was Hiris. Now it's Haris. What is happening here?
Now, early on in its life, Islam came into contact with the Greeks and their way of thinking. So, there was a debate in the Islamic world about what way of thinking should be followed. Should
Hmm.
we adhere rigidly to the Quran and the Sunnah, or should a logical approach to rational thinking be developed for our worldly problems? This led to the creation of the schools of theology.
Okay, before he talks about the schools of theology, I gotta say this Salafi movement. I actually do like this one. It's the black. It's the little details around here. You know, it's the little things for me that really matter. You know, I enjoy this one.
The Athari are considered the traditionalists who stick to the Quran and Sunnah, while the Mu'tazilites are seen as those who follow reason and rational thinking much more. The Ashari and the Maturidi are somewhere in between, although the division between these schools, which are quite clear in theory, weren't as neat in practice. For example, the Mu'tazilites, while claiming to be rationalists and progressive, were behind one of the biggest inquisitions in Islamic
Oh
history.
wow.
This inquisition also stopped Islam from having something of a pope. A little bit about that inquisition, which is called the Mihna. It was during the reign of Abbasid Caliph al Ma'mun. The main question was about the nature of the Quran, whether it was created at the time of revelation to the Prophet or whether it had always existed. The
Oh,
implications of that were that if the Quran had always existed since the beginning of time, then it is true for all times and its interpretations cannot change or be updated over time. However,
okay.
if it was created at the time of revelation, that it meant that the Quran applied only to that time and its meaning can be changed according to the times. Al Mamun
Mm,
believed in himself as being the Imam and having the power to define Islamic theology and jurisprudence rather than the body of learned men and women known as the ulama. The Mu'tazilites supported him, while the most ardent opponent was Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, the founder of the Hanbali school. People were forced to support Al Mamun's doctrine of the created Quran, and refusal led to imprisonment, torture, seizure of property, etc.
whoa, what is going? Why did that just like jump to such an extreme? It's like, hey, guys, remember that the book that we base our whole religion on, it can be changed. Uh, but if you don't support that, then I'm gonna take all your stuff. I'm gonna, send you to jail. There's gonna be massive consequences if you don't follow this. We are dead serious about this, guys. That sounds kind of extreme. I thought they were just gonna be like, hey, I don't know, leave if you don't like it, leave or something. But no, they were like, yeah, there will be corporal punishments for not listening to what I have to say.
When the Inquisition failed, the Mu'tazilites fell into decline and eventually died out. But recently, people have been claiming to be neo Mu'tazilites and trying to revive the rationalist thinking that is often imagined as being the core of their doctrine. Since the Mihna failed, Sunni caliphs never again tried to have the power to define Islamic theology and jurisprudence directly. This is why Sunni Islam has no head of faith like the Pope. Over
Oh
time, the
wow.
schools of theology and the schools of jurisprudence came
I don't know why. I thought there was gonna be like a head of the religion. I thought there was like a pope.
to be associated with each other. For example, the Hanbalis follow the Athari school, while the Hanafis follow the Maturidi one. The Hanbalis stick to a more literal meaning of the Quran and Sunnah, while the Hanafis, being a centrist school, do use some rational thinking as well, along with analogy and consensus to form judgments. However, for most Muslims today, their school of theology aren't very clear. They usually identify with the madhab or school of jurisprudence more than the school of theology. In fact, even mosques can be named after the madhab of the people who manage them. Usually, in Muslim majority countries, people tend to go to the mosque that is managed by the people of their own madhab because mosques are primarily used for prayers and the way to pray also changes from madhab to madhab.
Oh,
However, in Western countries, people go to whatever mosque is available as long as it follows their sect, i.e., the Sunni one or the Shia one. In the 18th
okay.
century, the Muslim world began to lose much of its power as the Ottoman and Mughal empires entered an era of decline and the Europeans began to take over. At this point, Muslims faced the question of why this had happened. Many scholars came to the conclusion that Muslims had slid away from true Islam and had become sinful, which led to this decline. As a result, many revivalist movements appeared in the Islamic world. The first one came from India under a man named Shah Waliullah Dehlvi in the early and mid
Okay.
18th century. He advocated for Muslims to stop following medieval imams, such as the founders of the four madhabs, and instead focus on learning for themselves what the Quran and the Sunnah teach. He and his son
Mm.
even translated the Quran into Persian and Urdu, respectively, which were the two dominant languages among Indian Muslims at the time.
He said, "Do your own research, people." Uh, guys, you know what time it is. I gotta do this because these are starting to get way better. These are starting to get so much better. Let's see here. Barelevis. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I like this one, although this doesn't feel like it's related to any religious set whatsoever. This just looks like it's just a decoration thing. Like this just looks like it's some good 1940s design right here. Like maybe like that what's that, like that deco era? Uh that type of like vibe there. But I still enjoy it. Like if this was like a floor pattern or something, you know it's about to have some fun times in that place. This one here, this just looks beautiful. This just looks creative. I feel like, if I had like a Muslim, or I keep saying Muslim, if I had like an Arabic daughter or something, I would want to make sure she had that in her like a poster or something. That just feels cool. Like I don't know what this is for necessarily. Well, obviously it's a school of religious thought, but like it seems really cool. This one here, I like this one. I enjoy this one. It feels like you got to look up close for the details, but something about it off rip, it hits me. I like it. This one here, I will say, for me, the only thing that's saving it is the green. I love green. This is like my favorite color. Uh, the wording on there, I wish it was a little bit more like, you know, you know, like some of these, a little bit more. Add something else besides just the letters in the green. I don't know. This one here, I really like this one here. This one's really nice. It's like you just get that, like, get the. I feel like that's the moon, even though I also feel like, I don't know, it could be the moon, it could be the sun. The photo is black and white, so it's kind of, it could go either way, but the tower stands tall either way. And I feel like if this was the sun and it's daytime, it's a beautiful view. If it was the moon and it's nighttime, also a beautiful view. No matter what, you're winning with this one. This is kind of like a win-win situation. And Nation of Islam, obviously, this is just a classic. Can't go wrong with this one. This is a classic symbol. We all know it. We all seen it before. Looks great. It never fails. It's like the hit that keeps on coming. It's the number one. It's a banger that people have been. This is like the hit that's been like on the top of the charts for like 80 years, and you're just like, man, will I ever get tired of like the Mariah Carey Christmas song? No, you will not. This is like the Mariah Carey Christmas song of you know of the symbols. Everyone knows it. We all like it. It comes around. You're like, whoa. Okay, let me listen to this. You know. All right, guys. That went on enough of the ridiculous analogy.
To make the Quran more accessible to the people. Towards the end of the 18th century, another reformer was active in what is today Saudi Arabia. His name was Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. He also advocated for a similar disassociation with the medieval imams and their schools and for re-evaluating the Quran and Sunnah. Over time, his doctrine, known as Wahhabism, came to become dominant in
Oh
Saudi
wow.
Arabia. Wahhabis are often put in the same box as the Ahle Hadith, who
My bad, Wahhabis. Again, don't mean to disrespect anyone here. I want this whole thing to stay as respectful as possible. But again, need to focus more on that symbol, guys. You need to work on that just a little bit harder. Just make sure it's up to date, getting cool. You wanna stay cool. Get a classic. You just got to get one classic, and then you can just like not change it. You got to look at what Nation of Islam did, and you got to try your best to get to something that nice in that classic, in that like, ooh, I like. It just seems a little too plain for me.
were born in India. The two movements might have even inspired each other. They're both غير مقلد, meaning they claim to not adhere to any medieval school, but in fact they do kinda adhere to the Hanbali one. They call themselves Salafi after the Salafi movement, which advocated for a return of Muslims to the ways of the Aslaf, or the elders, meaning the first generation of Muslims. The Wahhab are a bit more fundamentalist, if you will, while the Ahl Hadith are a bit more moderate. The Ahl Hadith came from the followers of Shah Waliullah along with the Deobandis, who follow Shah Waliullah but also adhere to the Hanafi madhab. They, along with the Barelvis, are the majority of the Muslims in India and Pakistan. The Barelvis are kinda Hanafis mixed with a lot of Sufism. So while the Ahl Hadith, the Wahhabis, and the Deobandis don't like Sufism, the Barelvis do. Quite a lot, actually. Speaking of the Sufis, we're not going to be talking about them in detail here because they're very complicated. What? Sufism is a mystical form of Islam, and they have many orders and brotherhoods that believe in a range of religious
These guys look cool. Like, I'm sorry. Like, these guys, like, dream rotation right here. I'm sorry. Like, these guys, dream rotation. That's all I got to say.
Some are strictly Shia, some are strictly Sunni, while the rest are somewhere in between. Then we have the Shias. We have another video on the lines of the Shia Imams, so be sure to watch that one to get a better understanding of their individual lines.
Guys, should I do a video reacting to this one here? Because again, like, at this point, knowing that with the Shiites, that these guys are literal, like, the guys in charge of, like, interpreting the book and, like, saying it back. I kind of want to know who these guys are now. Like, these guys seem, let's set a like goal. So let this video get 12 likes. I'm keeping it, this is a very obtainable goal here, guys. 12 likes. And then we'll go ahead and get this one done. This looks interesting. I want to see how it goes.
The Shia Imams, so be sure to watch that one to get a better understanding of their individual lines. But anyhow, Shias believe in the infallible Imams from the descendants of the Prophet. While these Imams were alive, they didn't need to form schools of jurisprudence in the same way that Sunnis had to, but eventually they did as well. I think an interesting point of how flexible the Shia-Sunni split was early on is that the founder of the Hanafi school, the biggest school of the Sunnis, was a student of Imam Jafar as-Sadiq, the founder of the biggest Shia school. Among the Shias, the main three subsects are the Zaydis, who believe in the imamate of Zayd ibn Ali and believe that the Imam must also fight for the caliphate. They're found mostly in Yemen. Then we have the Ismailis and the Twelvers. The Twelvers are the majority of the Shias today at around 85%.
Wow.
Both the Ismailis and the Twelvers, who are also known as the Imamiyas, follow the teachings of Imam Jafar as-Sadiq. Generally speaking, the Shias do believe in the Sunnah of the Prophet as well, but they only take parts of the Sunnah that are narrated by companions of the Prophet who sided with Ali. These parts of the Sunnah are then interpreted by the Imams, whose teachings are followed then by the Shias. There was also another subsect known as the Seveners, who are now considered extinct. All three of these Jafari subsects were divided over the succession to Imam Jafar as-Sadiq. Again, watch the other video. The Ismailis were a much more active group in the 9th and 10th centuries. They formed their own caliphate in Egypt in 969 and considered their caliphs to be imams as well. As a result, their jurisprudence also.
Well, before it goes too far, you know what we got to do? We have to take a look at these symbols. Now, I wish you have. I was going to mention this one later, but I'm going to have to judge it now. Ooh, this is going to be an interesting one because this one here, I don't know what this says, but it looks like one of those like late 90s, early 2000s, like hip hop Christmas cover albums. And that is hilarious. Like, that's just all time hilarious to me. Like, if you just look at something like that, it kind of, you can see the vibe that was going for, but I'm sure it says something very important there. So again, no disrespect, guys. That's just my opinion. This one here, am I just thinking about Christmas? Because this looks like a Christmas decoration. Like, it looks like a really, really good Christmas ornament. Like, you get these, they're actually made out of glass. You break them, you're screwed. Your parents are upset. They are like, yo, you can't even go near the tree right now. There's glass everywhere. Don't do it. But, you know, you look at it, you're like, oh, man, that looks incredible. You know, I like it. I like how it looks. But again, it does look like a Christmas decoration, but one of the really expensive ones. The 12ers, I don't know. I like the green. And I do enjoy the way the words look here, but I don't know what they mean. I wish I spoke like, you know, the language so I could like fully understand and get like the in depth of this, but I don't. So I'm just gonna come out of here from a place of straight ignorance. I still like it though. This one here, is this a knife? Is this like a knife or a dagger or something? I don't know. It's hard to tell what this is exactly, but it kind of looks like a dagger, except it's like L shaped. Do they make L shaped daggers, guys? I don't know. I don't know. I kind of like this one though. It's like a switchblade or something. It gives me the vibe that it's like supposed to be like something cool, and I like that. I know it sounds ridiculous, but this looks cool to me.
Has teachings from the Fatimid Imams along with those of Imam Jafar. They became further divided over succession. However, there were some groups of the Ismailis that rejected the Fatimid Caliphate and formed their own subsects. All of these are now considered extinct, but the most popular are the Karmatians, who are universally reviled by Muslims because they sacked the city of Mecca in 930 and
Oh,
stole the sacred Black Rock. From the Fatimids
dang.
eventually appeared a group of people known as the Druze, who aren't considered
Whoa.
Muslim and are a major religious group in Syria today.
Guys, these three, all three of these are incredible. I like all three of these. The Drews, I like this one. This, okay, now don't hate me, Drews, but this feels like some type of like, I want to say like almost like Power Rangers. Maybe what's the one with the Voltron type of vibe here? But like for religion, so it's like they just came together. Like, no, we're more powerful together, and I like that. This one here, this one looks kind of cool. I gotta say, I don't, you know, I don't know why, but I just kind of enjoy this as a symbol. I feel like this would be a good tattoo idea. I feel like a lot of things hit me better when I feel like I could see them as a tattoo. This one here, I don't know. I don't even think you have to explain why this is cool. This is just a sword with lettering on it. Like, this is, guys, swords are cool. I'm sorry to tell you this. Like, whoever doesn't know, welcome to reality. Swords are freaking cool. Like, show me a sword, I'm probably gonna like the thing that it's associated with. That's why they make swords. That's why everybody was like, yo, swords. They are deadly. They're also cool. There's plenty of deadly things in the world. Nobody is like, not so many people are just like bigging up spears all day. Like, oh man, spears are so, you know, diverse. You can use them for so many different things. Like, no, not like swords. Swords are cool. You know, you put a sword on a logo. It's a better looking logo. I want to see I want to see a symbol without a sword, and then show me that same symbol with a sword. I bet you the sword one is coming up on top.
Their theology is quite secretive and unknown to most outsiders. One of the things that they believe in is the reincarnation of the soul. The Twelvers became the dominant group in Iran during the Safavid Empire's reign. They themselves had a disagreement that led to what can be called their own madhabs, the Usuli and the Akhbari. The Akhbari form the majority of the Twelver Shias and believe in only using the traditional teachings to form judgments, while the Usuli believe that reasoning can and should be used as well. One branch of the Twelvers eventually became the Alawites, who live primarily in Syria and Turkey. They're not considered Muslim by most other sects of Islam. They're often confused
Oh,
with the Alawis, who are in a similar Islamhood disputed situation, but they're probably more of a Sufi order than a Shia subgroup. Finally, the Babist and the Baha'i faiths also come from the Twelver Shias. While they're certainly not Muslim, they do hold on to a lot of things from the Shias. In episode 6 of Matt's Christian Denominations Family Tree series, he talked about the Millerites, who believed that Jesus would be returning in the year 1844. The
oh
lack
wow.
of Jesus' return led to the event known as the Great Disappointment among their followers. However, some Baha'i believe that Christ did return in 1844 as Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, declared himself to be the Mahdi, a messianic figure who is to return, according to both Shias and Sunnis, around the end of time. Rainn Wilson, who plays Dwight Schrute on The Office,
I know
is a
him.
member of the Baha'i faith. The third
What?
major
What? That's crazy. Maybe I should look
sect of
into it now.
Islam is
Guys, I'm joking. I'm not going to change my whole religious beliefs just because Dwight changed his. Maybe if it was Michael Scott or something, but like Dwight? No, come
popularly
on.
known as the Kharija.
Maybe if it was Kenneth, I don't know. But not Dwight.
However, we've used the term muhakkima here. Okay, I won't go into too much detail. You can check out my videos on Al-Muqaddimah for that. But there was a civil war between Ali ibn Abi Talib and Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan, known as the First Fitna. Ali was the caliph and Muawiyah was the governor of Syria, who refused to recognize Ali as caliph. They went to war and faced each other in the Battle of Siffin, where there was so much bloodshed that the two sides agreed to arbitrate instead of fighting. Some of the people on Ali's side, which by the way was called the Shiatul Ali, that's where the name Shia comes from,
Oh,
decided
wow.
that this was wrong. They believed that Muawiyah had, by fighting the caliph, gone against Islam, so he must be fought until he was defeated. Arbitration, they said, was against the law of God. They left Ali's camp and formed a third side known as the Kharijites, or those who left. They were the very first actual division in the believers' community. The Kharijites followed a very rigid and extreme interpretation of Islam and stuck to a our way or death approach.
Oh,
However, these days the Kharijites are said to be extinct. Rather, a more moderate version of them called Ibadis can be found in countries like Oman. They prefer not to be called Kharijites and claim to have nothing to do with them, which is why they are shown here as having branched off from the Muhakkima rather than from each other. The Muhakkima is the
okay.
term used for the people who left Ali's camp. There were other offshoots of the Kharijites as well throughout history, but most of them have gone extinct over the centuries, and Ibadis are pretty much the only major group of this branch left. They're found as the majority of the population in Oman. Finally, we have two groups of people that call themselves Muslims, but their Muslimhood is extremely disputed. The first are the Ahmadis. They were founded by a man named Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in India. Almost all other groups of Muslims accuse the Ahmadis of uplifting Mirza Ghulam Ahmad to the level of a prophet and hence call them non-Muslims because according to Islam, Prophet Muhammad is the last prophet and claiming that
Oh,
anyone after him is a prophet is going against the very fundamental beliefs of Islam.
okay. Wow, that's interesting. So no one else can actually be a prophet according to Islam. So the moment I guess that stops a lot of like those random, because you know in like Christianity there's always like somebody coming up like, oh, I'm actually the reincarnation of Jesus, so like here's my religious preaching. So they're kind of like nip that in the butt, like no, there actually are no other prophets, there won't be any. So stop, don't do it. Don't do it. It's like giving your kid a pre-warning before you walk into the store, like, hey, don't don't ask for nothing, don't touch anything, don't even look at all the toy. No, don't look at stuff. You're gonna keep your head forward, look at the cart. If I ask you to grab something, you're gonna grab that. Don't go off doing your own thing. It's like that. They're like, nope. We had this conversation beforehand. If you're trying to claim to be the prophet, you already messed up. No prophets.
Hence, other than the Ahmadis, no one considers them Muslims. This goes so far that I'm sure there will be people in the comments telling us that we shouldn't even mention them in a video about Muslims at all because they're not Muslim.
Oh wow.
Then we have the Nation of Islam, founded by Wallace Fard Muhammad. The Nation of Islam is popular in the US, specifically among black Americans.
Yeah.
Like the Baha'i, the members of the Nation of Islam claim that the founder, Wallace Muhammad, was the Mahdi and perhaps even divine to some extent. Some of its most famous members are Elijah Muhammad, who succeeded Fard Muhammad, and Malcolm X, who left the Nation of Islam in 1964 to follow more mainstream Islam. Elijah Muhammad's son, Wallace, took the Nation of Islam in the direction of becoming more mainstream and hence closer to Sunni Islam. Eventually, he dissolved the old Nation of Islam. However, Louis Farrakhan revived it, and so it still exists today. So that was a look at the
good old Louis Farrakhan. I mean, hey, you can't listen to everything everybody says all the time, guys. You know, a broken clock can be right twice a day. A fixed clock can still be wrong if the calendar changes its daylight savings. You know, that's not the best analogy, but it did come off the top of my head. So there you go.
Denominations of Islam. As I mentioned, we have other videos on the family trees of other religions, including Christianity and Judaism. And if you aren't already, do subscribe for videos about other religious denominations as well. Now, before I go, I should mention one more thing. Most Islamic denominations actually came about in the 9th and 10th centuries during an era known as the Islamic Golden Age. During this period, Muslim scholars worked in many fields of study such as jurisprudence, theology, philosophy, architecture, etc. However, perhaps the most important field of study was mathematics. To do so, they had to collect books from places as far off as Greece and India. Then they had to translate those books so they could learn from them. However, thanks to today's sponsor, Brilliant, you don't have to go through all that to learn and understand fields such as math, data.
No, you don't. With Brilliant, you actually get to learn so much information. It's very comprehensive, all in one place. You're going to be able to learn about solving equations. You're going to be able to get your math all set up and done properly, guys. Again, if anyone's watching my channel, you know how I feel about promotions. I love when people have promotions. Shout outs to everyone who has a promotion. Unfortunately, I don't have one at the moment. So I will actually go ahead and do his promotion for him until I get one. But yeah, guys, this is Brilliant. It's incredible. You're going to be able to learn in different levels depending on what level you feel like you're at. So they're going to have more advanced things. They're going to have more, I guess like remedial things for everyone on the, who just starting off. Like, it's going to be great. You guys are going to be able to learn, and it's going to be learning based, off of you, individualized learning. So that's going to be the best part about it. So just let them know what you're interested in, and then they're going to have different courses at different levels depending on what your comfort level is with the subject. So guys, they're definitely going to have some information about this inside of their link in their bio. So make sure you guys go to brilliant.org/usefulcharts. Take advantage of some discounts that they're going to be able to provide. You're actually going to get a 30-day free trial and 20% off the annual subscription. Guys, it's almost like you can't afford not to do this. You'll be losing money and you won't be as smart. Sorry to tell you this. But the 20% off is only for the first 200 people to sign up. So if you are one of the first 200 people, which you probably aren't because this video is over a month old by the time I'm watching it, then congratulations, you got 20% off. Everyone else, get the 30-day trial.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. That was a great video, guys. I feel like I learned some good stuff there. Like I obviously I'm new, so I'm not like the most, all my opinions on this aren't just like all super thought out and like critically formed. Obviously, I mean, I'm just going based off of what I'm hearing for the first time. So some of my statements in this video may not be accurate. Some people may not agree. Some people may agree and be like, oh man, I think everything you said was great because you're a great YouTuber and you're the best YouTuber I've ever seen. And I watch all your videos and I hit like and then I comment. I also subscribe and then I create a second account and I subscribe with that account as well. You're just so great. I told my mom to also subscribe and then I created a second account for her. So now there's 4 subscriptions. Some of you guys may be saying that, I don't know. This is just me. But for all the people who think that I'm completely wrong and that I'm stupid and that I suck, sorry guys. I'm just trying to learn about a religion here, trying to learn about a culture. And I do apologize. I don't know if every time I'm saying like Muslim and I really want to focus on saying Islamic because that is the actual like terminology within the phrasing of the video. So I apologize for any time I did not say Islamic or Islamic faith. In my mind, they're kind of like, I feel like they're similar, but I'm too ignorant on the subject to know. So until I become more knowledgeable, I am going to go and almost go as like tiptoe around the subject just until I feel more comfortable within it for myself. And I feel like I've like actually know some information here. So that was random, but yeah. So guys, this was a great video. Again, remember, like, comment, subscribe. If you're just now finding out about me, if you're new to the channel, check out some of the other videos. You may enjoy them, you may not. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you're on your journey right now along with me. So let's go on our journey together. Subscribe, become an angel, and guys, as always, bye.